Chad was talking about how he felt Saturday was the best defensive effort he's seen from the team this season. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, there's some things we need to be better at, but I thought our guys at different times during the game played well. We have to continue to do a better job in places of tackling. We did a good job of creating turnovers. When you look at the score, you had a team that came in averaging 50 points and holding to 30. Okay, you can take some relief in that, but there's still a lot for us to do. There's still a lot of growing for us to do, and our players know that. So we're looking at this week as another opportunity to be able to do that in a different environment, number one, and versus a very different type offense.
How do you prepare? Do you prepare any differently for such a different offense than you do on a normal week?
It's just different. It's a different offense, and I talked to the players about the difference. I've talked to the players about the mindset that we have to have when you face this offense that is so structured and so much ready to attack your shortcomings from an assignment standpoint, from an alignment standpoint. So we feel like as a defense, this is one of the biggest challenges we've faced and that we will face. So our guys are, even today, locked in and thinking about, the opportunity to play this game.
Given the differences both on your defense and on the Navy offense from a year ago, do you watch film of last year's game, or do you just focus more on this season?
Well, because of the fact that they do, you hear it all the time, we do what we do. Well, they do what they do. So anytime you can watch them, you're just trying to learn. You're trying to figure out their keys. You're trying to figure out how can you be on the attack, rather than being at their mercy. So we watched last year, we watched 2 years ago, we watch any video that we can to be able to gain more insight on how they do and why they do the things that they do, so that we on our side, from our standpoint, can do a better job of putting the ball, in our court and making those guys react to us rather than the opposite of that.
Given Navy's tendency to cut block, how do you prepare your defensive line for those kind of situations, and especially because you don't necessarily want to do that in practice?
And that's the toughest thing, is that you don't want to do that. But we say to our players, we'd rather do it, rather you have somebody that cut you than somebody you don't know, And if you don't practice it, if you don't, as best you can, it's difficult because your scout team, they don't play for Navy. Your scout team, they were recruited to operate in this offense, and they are playing because they are operators of this offense. And you have guys who, that's what they do. Day after day after day, that's what they do, talking about the Navy offense. So it's difficult throughout a short week to be able to have your scout team operate as the Navy offense would, but you have to be daring enough, because it only helps your players. You have to go out there and you have to work on the cut block, because going 100 miles an hour and getting cut is a little bit different than doing it at practice. Well, if you didn't give them the opportunity to be able to face that and go through the fundamentals, because there's a way to play the cut block. And if the first time you go through that in your mind is on game day, it's not a lot of fun for you or for the trainers.
Jordan Wyatt set the program record for defensive touchdowns on Saturday. Where have you seen him grow the most since you got here 3 years ago?
Well, he is truly an example of what growth and maturity can do for a player. How it can help his confidence, how it can help that player's understanding of the defense and understanding of what you're trying to get him to do. And I continue to say that Jordan, yes, I'm his coach, and coaches get a lot of credit, so I'll take some for him. But honestly, Jordan works harder than many coaches, many players that I've had the opportunity to coach. So some of the things that he's done is because he's put himself in position to be able to do it. He's put himself in position because he prepares each week. And so on game day, he understands what's going to happen on the play. And it's almost second nature that he makes a play because he's played it over and over in his head. And when he talks in the meeting room, you know that he understands how they are trying to attack him as a player, how they're trying to attack his position. And when players do that, they make plays. Justin Lawler makes plays because he understands his responsibility. He understands how he fits in it all, and he knows what's going to happen. So it's just a matter of him going out and making the play when the opportunity presents itself.
When you say Jordan's one of the hardest working players you've been around, like where do you see that? How is his preparation different?
Well, we have a thing that we do in the cornerback room is the players present a scouting report to each other, and we do that on Thursdays. And so what they do is, part of this is the things that Coach Malone has said all week, but then some of it is things that I want you to go out and find on the video. I want you to go and find out in the world versus the opponent. And he always comes back with the most information. And at practice, he's not a guy who's taking lazy steps. He's always working on his technique. He's always trying to help somebody else. So those are the things that I feel as a player, not only for yourself, but that take the rest of the group to another level. And our players who make other players better, they're the best players in my mind.
So who are some of the scout guys who are helping you simulate the Navy offense?
Colin Rock, who's a defensive back, is a guy who is going to be able to help us as one of their slots. Kane Norman, Merritt Pierce will be, guys that will be valuable for us. Judah Bell, will work as a receiver, but they have bigger receivers and they do a good job of blocking, and it's a great thing that Judah does for us and has done all season long. Where you kind of struggle is the offensive lineman, because you don't have a ton of those guys to be able to help you. But those guys will, those names that I said, those guys will help us with the skilled positions that Navy will bring to us.
And Nikhil Onu had two big plays on the first two drives on Saturday. Where have you seen him develop in his sophomore season?
Well, he continues to do well when we put him in those positions to make tackles. When we put him in positions like the one you saw to create the turnover, to make those kinds of plays, he's done it. He's leading us in tackles right now because it's set for him to be the free player. And sometimes that's in different places. And sometimes it's not the easiest tackle for him to make, but he continues to show up and make tackles and make the plays that we need him to make. He is one of the guys who is responsible for getting us aligned, and he does a great job of that. But like I talked about with Jordan, he does a great job of studying. He does a great job of preparing himself so that he can get not only himself lined up, but get the rest of the guys on the defense aligned as well.